Gee, we move on to the CEO panel discussion. जहाँ पर we have our panelists. May I please request the audience members जो hall के उल्टे हाथ की तरफ हैं, अगर आप अपनी seats ले लें, we can continue on with the CEO panel discussion. On stage, may I please request the Managing Director and CEO of Gets Pharma, Mr. Khalid Mahmood. Khalid Saab, if you could kindly join me on stage. May I also request the Executive Vice President of Pacific Pharmaceuticals, Dr. Qurratulain Irfan, to join me on stage. Chief Executive of the Shazoo Pharmaceutical Laboratories Private Limited, Mr. Mia Asad Shuja, if you can kindly make it to the stage. The Managing Director of Indus Pharma, Mr. Zahid Saeed, and the Managing Director of Martin Dow, Mr. Javed Ghulam Mohammed. Ji, Assalamu alaikum ji. May I request the audience to at least give the CEO Roundtable, the panel, a very big round of applause? I personally really enjoyed that table because you're very, very responsive. So good for you. Before we begin things, so we have about हमारे पास तकरीबन 25 मिनट है, तकरीबन आधा घंटा है ताकि हम कुछ इश्यूज़ पर बात कर सकें. लेकिन शुरू करते हैं. जैसे मैंने हमारे प्री इवेंट डिस्कशन में बातचीत की थी, थोड़े बहुत सवालात रखे थे. आई पोज देम टू यू एंड आईड लाइक यू टू जस्ट स्टार्ट ऑफ विद अ ब्रीफ 20-second intro as to what do you feel is the vision, the potential for the pharmaceutical industry in Pakistan. 20 second का अगर हम सवाल जवाब pose कर लें, so that will help me to give you a kind of a benchmark. So Khalid Saab, can we start off with you?
Yeah, I think the future of the pharmaceutical industry is very good if it can expand and grow in technology and in quality on exponential basis. And I think the only thing, in my opinion, that will determine if it will grow exponentially or if it will not grow exponentially is to improve the is to improve the regulatory framework of the country, the regulatory system. We have to step into a higher level of a regulatory system than we have been, and I must say that there have been a lot of progress in the last few years. And as we speak, we have now speaking the language of CTT dossiers. That's number one. And number two, I think that in the past, if I may, we had been married to the economic theories of the 20s. And we have to divorce from those economic theories and step into the 21st century.
Right.
And I think in this year we have made some progress, as we saw today from what with the support of the government and the Prime Minister, what the the Commerce Minister has announced about the toll manufacturing. Thank you.
All right. May I request Dr. Qurratulain, what about you? What do you feel is the potential of Pakistan's pharmaceutical industry?
Assalamu alaikum ji.
Walaikum salam.
I see the exports and only exports can match the inflation, and my personal aim is to balance my import with my exports. So in order not to be dependent on the financial institutions and so many things, and this is the only way forward which will take our country out of this from the low developing to the high developing countries, and we can easily overthrow or compete and come forward from Bangladesh. Though we cannot compete with India at this stage, but at least we should target Bangladesh and try to cross that benchmark.
Right. But just a quick follow-up. मतलब आप कितना अरसा देखती हैं अगर ये policies और initiatives अपना वक्त ले लेती हैं? आप 2 से 5 साल के बारे में बात कर रही हैं, 10 साल के बारे में?
I think 3 years if we develop our facilities and we go for accreditation, international accreditation, then there's lots and lots of potential.
All right.
And in the regulated market, I know there is not too much margins, but the export is huge. They import containers, not, small shipment. So we should focus for the regulated market and to bring our export to the level our government wants us to be.
Right. Mia Asad?
Ji. Hello.
It's on. What do you feel, in your words, is the potential of Pakistan's pharmaceutical industry, let's say in the next 3 to 5 years?
It's a huge potential for next 3 to 5 years. Even in 2010, we have given the vision 2020, but the main thing is that we need policies and very export related policies. Otherwise, all the companies, they are ready to export. But if we have policies which can make us export easier by government, by DRAP or by Ministry of Commerce, that would be a really, really good help.
Okay. Or Zahid Saab?
Thank you very much. Two things I would like to highlight here. Obviously, everybody has said that there's a huge potential of pharmaceutical industry in Pakistan. But having our Honorable Minister of Health here, I'll take this opportunity to express two things. One, sir, we can partner with the government to ensure universal access to medicine to people of Pakistan. And this is a very thought out program that we can present to you. In 40 to 45 billion rupees, which is not much compared to the 220 million population of Pakistan, we can ensure that everybody, rich or poor, gets essential medicine free of cost. And this is not a big deal. And we are here to offer this potential to our government. I think the first thing we owe as pharmaceutical industry is to our own people. And then we go for the exports. And this is an area that we can discuss. And I think this can be a milestone achievement of this government if you could please sit down with us and hear us out the proposal that we have for you. Number two, I would say, again, taking advantage of your presence here, that we have now been discussing with you for the past week or 10 days about amendments in the regulatory framework, about the DRAP Act, about the Drug Act. Sir, जो developed markets हैं, USA, Europe, वहाँ पर भी जो guidelines हैं, जो framework है, industry proposes that to the regulators, because we are the people who are on the ground and we know the problems we face, not only on our production floors, but also while we export. The problems faced by us are better known by us. That what is the international anticipation, expectation of what we should provide to them, and how we can harmonize with them, not only to enhance quality in our local availability of medicine, but also in our exports. So, sir, please allow us this opportunity also to present a regulatory framework to you as an industry which complies not only with the international standards, but which ensures better provision of medicines to the people of Pakistan.
That's a very important point also, Zahid Saab. I'll come back to that. But just want to get one quick comment in from Javed Ghulam Mohammed Sahab also. So what do you feel is set as the potential, and if you could be a little bit more concrete,
Okay,
sure. Dollar value, export value, employability, anything.
Right. And definitely, I also see a great potential of pharmaceutical industry, both at the local level and also at the international level. If you look at the Pakistan pharmaceutical market, the size is $3.2 billion market size, with a population of almost like 220 million. So this is still one of the lowest per capita pharmaceutical market in the world. So this shows that accessibility of medicine is still very limited to the population that we have. And this market will continue to grow, and we see a great potential at the local level. Now, coming at the international market or the export, pharmaceutical industry is generating somewhere around $250 million of exports. And mainly what we are targeting is like a semi-regulated markets, like Afghanistan, Sri Lanka, or maybe Vietnam, Philippines, and few parts of CIS like Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. But we are still not into the regulated markets of the world, or I would say developed markets of the world. And those are the big markets, because if you see the world market is $1.25 trillion, and 40% is North America, followed by Europe, and then Japan, and then China, India, and Brazil. And we need to get into those markets if we really want to grow in terms of our exports. And in order to get into those markets, the only way is to improve the quality standards, adopt the CTD formats, upgrade our manufacturing facility, upgrade our quality systems. And I'm glad that the way the DRAP is working, and now we are talking about the CTD, as Khalid Saab also said. So if the pharmaceutical industry will adopt those standards, and then definitely we can convert this $250 million into billions of dollars in terms of export.
Right.
Yeah.
I will continue on that and come back to you, Khalid Saab. I think आज के अखबार में है शायद that you are actually being awarded by the highest export performance award by the FPCCI for the 15th continuous year. You are the only pharma to have achieved LEED Platinum certification in Pakistan, and you are the 33rd largest taxpayer in Pakistan and the largest in the pharmaceutical industry. आपकी जो total exports है उसकी भी मैं ratings देख रही थी, figures देख रही थी. I think it's more than $10 billion versus whatever the second one right after you. काफ़ी gap है उसमें. How do you achieve that? आपने ऐसा क्या किया है जो एक मॉडल किया जा सकता है, बना सकते हैं हम, ताकि दूसरी इंडस्ट्रीज भी दूसरी कंपनीज भी उस रोड मैप पर चलें? How did you manage?
Thank you very much. So, well, we just did, from day one, we did three things. Number one, we had a vision, and from day one, we had a vision that we will be our highest exporter, and we said that at that time, we said we'll have a sustainable management policy and a sustainable management strategy. Now, what is a sustainable management strategy? It has three branches. Number one, that it has to respect the environment, and this is why from day one we always had very high environmental standards. We have almost 80% recycling of water, and by that it is a long-term investment into the country, but at the same time it gives ourselves a little better methodology and a cleaner way to do things. Similarly, with certifications, we were the first company in Pakistan to have WHO, our quality control lab, which accredited by WHO, and this is when we were relatively young. And because we are a relatively young company in the country, so the sustainability also looks at the economy, at the ecosystem of the community and the economy.
Okay.
So economy of the shareholders, economy of the people, most important. From day one, we always had this written objective, written vision, part of a vision that we will be the best, most highly rated company to work for in Pakistan, and we were able to attract and train and reinvest. Finally, we had one thing, that we have to reinvest in technology, systems, and people. Therefore, this, I think, put us forward. And yes, you're right, our share in exports from Pakistan so far is about 48% of the allopathic medicines. And I believe that there's a big world and a lot more opportunity. All of us put together can be $1 billion export country from this country.
Dr. Kurotulayan, our neighboring country has about $23 billion worth of pharmaceutical exports, because aapne baat ki thi import and export ka balance. What special initiatives have they taken which we need to learn from?
They have upgraded their systems, equipment. They are all CRF 21. They are compliant to the international standards, and same things we have to do. Invest in our upgradation of our facilities. getting foreign accreditations. Like we are the only one with MHRA accreditation, and we are supplying to UK, Germany, South America, and this all happened because of our certified equipment. This is and you have to invest on consultants to upgrade your system, to upgrade your documentation, and in the end, they come and check the quality of the medicine which we are giving to our people, not for the export. So they just want to match that we are doing the best in quality, GMP standards for our nation before we go for exports to the regulated market.
But in tangible terms, what needs to happen? Aapne keh diya, upgradation of systems. But all of that then costs money.
You have to invest and wait, grow with time. It takes 6 to 7 years initially for anyone to start and rebuilding the system.
Okay.
So when there is a lot of potential in regulated market as well.
Right. Asad साहब आपने बात की थी इसका exports and regulatory frameworks के बारे में. The question I want to ask you is, what facilitation and way forward is required from the government side to speed up the process to ensure that fast-track registrations for export take place?
I think the export registrations are already very speedy. I think we get it in time, but we can make one window operation and then we can cut it from 3-4 months to 1 week. But the main thing is that now for the COPP, for exports, we need to have registrations in Pakistan. So in Pakistan, with the CTT dossier, it takes around 6 to 8 months to make that CTT dossier. Then it goes to ministry. Then ministry has a queue of CTDs. So now I've heard that they are speeding up their registrations, but we have to speed up CTD registrations so that if many people who need COPP can get their local registrations to get their COPPs.
Okay.
And other thing is that mainly all the countries we are looking, we have to look what policies the government made. So we need that policy support, which we are working on it, and I think the export they have made, we are going under the umbrella of all other major exporters soon. So we will be having incentives. Upgrading your plants is a very tough job. And mainly,
it's a very costly job also.
It's a very costly job, and especially for even making CTD dossiers for Pakistan and for out of the country, you need to really upgrade your QC, QA, R&D, and especially you have to have a very good regulatory team. And for the dossier matter, now there is another department where we used to do analysis in QC. But now we have to have an analytical department separate to quick up our dossiers. So these are the things we have to follow, and the thing which the target should be made for new exporter is, like Dr. Kuratulan said, that the first target should be whatever is your import bill, your export should be higher than that.
Right, right.
Thank you.
Zahid साहब, आपने जो जिक्र किया था अपनी ओपनिंग स्टेटमेंट में, उसके बारे में पूछना है, उसको थोड़ा सा एक स्टेप फॉरवर्ड लेके जाना चाहूँगी. So pharmaceutical exports are highly regulated and a very, very sensitive issue. What are 2 steps that you would suggest need to be done to help pharma exports realize their full potential? आपने ज़्यादा local consumption के बारे में बात की थी, I know, but मुझे इसका दूसरा पहलू देखना है.
Ji, obviously our roots are in Pakistan,
Yes.
so we have to start from the local and then we have to grow out
Of
our
course.
branches all around the world. So that is the chronology of things to happen. जो हमारे दोस्त बात कर रहे हैं यहाँ, I think the first and foremost is the development of people. Khalid bhai ने भी यही कहा है कि you have to invest in quality people, you have to retain them, you have to give them a sustainable management environment. Because even what you develop in the facility is not only machinery and equipment, it is how you actually design the facility, and in every step when you initiate the facility, you need to have the right people in place. while we are making huge investment to enhance and to develop your facility, if you incur mistakes there, the mistakes are very costly.
Of course.
And you can't afford them. And if you invest all of that, in the end, you do not arrive at the desired certification that you need.
Right.
That's a mess. You don't want to reach that point. So you need to have the right people in place. And I still seriously think that we have a dearth of people who are trained and who are really, well versed about the international practices that are happening. We need to have a lot of dialogue on that with DRAP also. We need to sit down, we need to train people on either side of the table to be able to comprehend the international requirements, the growing trends, the new emerging trends which are happening, and we have to keep up with that pace. This is a difficult job, and the pharmaceutical industry and the changes that happen in the technology of pharmaceutical are somewhat comparable to the IT industry. It changes very frequently. So we need to have an upgraded training system built within our association, within our fraternity, and to develop people and to make them meet up the potential.
All right, just to wrap up, one last question I'll pose to each of you. I just need a 10-second answer from you. What is that one thing you need from the government to make all of this happen? Aapne individually kuch cheezein kahi hai, but I'll just go down, starting from Dr. Quratulain. Just tell me that one thing that you need from the government or from DRAP or from the private sector itself. Ek cheez bata dein.
Development of our team, DRAP is now way forward with the trainings and at international level. So while they can develop individual teams in the companies, so they can be more, improve their standard and skills while in-house. And then the one window should be one window, not like the Microsoft window that you open, and you end up nowhere.
Sahi. Khalid sir?
So, taking advantage of the Honorable Minister of Health, I think it's a very good question. And if there's one thing or 1.5 things, if I can take the liberty of saying 1.5 things, one thing is that Honorable Minister Dr. Faisal Sultan, of all the industries that are operating in Pakistan, the one industry that has to spend money on, spends a lot of money is research and development. The generic industry also has to do it. And without it, you cannot even begin to think to comply with CTD dossiers even for your own population, let alone the exports. And unfortunately, this is the only industry that pays to the government 1% CRF that no other industry pays. In fact, the textile industry, which has somewhat limited expenditure on research and development, they actually are paid 1%, up to 1% of their R&D if they do R&D, even if they, let's say, design a packet that's considered R&D in their books, and they are reimbursed, whereas we, sir, are charged 1%, and this is a huge amount that we pay, and this amount is depreciating and is not put to any good use, and it cannot be, because we are the ones who are spending so much money on R&D, and we can do more if we do it. And the second, the 50% of the other suggestion is that, sir, all the countries in the world are implementing import substitutions. Therefore, if Pakistan has to develop medicines which are more advanced than what we already are, such as cancer medicines, I think that at least if the government can implement a policy of import substitutions, such as at least 10 other countries that we export to are already doing it, and Bangladesh has had this policy since day one of its independence, that if a local industry produces a particular product in enough quantities and which meets the quality standards, then that product has to be protected through tariffs, excess tariffs, at least from those countries with which we do not have a most favored nation status, such as our neighboring country. And we cannot compete with them, and we cannot grow until we have that, sir. So
All right.
I think that is another policy that I would request the government to please consider. In my several meetings with the Prime Minister,
All right.
I've already mentioned that, and he has accepted that, he appreciates that, but it's just a matter of doing it, sir.
Thank you very much, Khalid Saab. Thank you to the panel. Can we please give our CEO Roundtable panel a very big round of applause? Thank you very much for taking the time, for sharing your expertise and for your knowledge and insights. If you can just take your seats. We will invite you shortly for the memento distribution. Thank you very much, ma'am. A big round of applause for the CEO panel.